Welcome to the Deeper Into Movies podcast. My name is Stephen T. Hanley. I'm the founder and lead curator of Deeper Into Movies. We are a pop-up cinema based in London. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by two wonderful writers, Ottessa Moshfegh and her husband, Luke Goebel. So they are both fiction writers and they have teamed up to adapt Ottessa Moshfegh's novel EILEEN. It's been turned into a movie, and if you know Ottessa's work, it's dark as hell and brilliant. And when I heard they were adapting it, I was like, there's no way you can adapt this novel without really sanitizing it and taking away all the dark grit and beauty. It kind of feels like David Lynch making a Hitchcock movie or something. And unbelievably, they've nailed it. It's one of the best films of the year. And I was really excited to speak to them both. We met up in London at their hotel where they were staying for EILEEN Press. And it was a great talk. And I got Ottessa's take on the Barbie movie, that really made my day. Here is me, Ottessa, and Luke. Hey, how are you?
This is Stephen from Deeper Into Movies. This is Ottessa and
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good, man.
Can I get you something?
I stole a walk from the other room. I just saw Thomason in the lobby.
Nice.
I met her last week. We were hanging out with Edgar Wright for a screening, and I saw her. But I didn't recognize her from the movie. I didn't put two and two together.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And then my friends were like, "You've been raving about this fucking movie all week. Why did you say
didn't know
something?"
that she was EILEEN?
No.
Wow.
But I'm a film programmer,
Yeah.
film nerd. I'm horrible with faces. Halfway through a movie, I'll be like, "That's the guy from the other movie." My girlfriend's like, "How have you just noticed that?"
Yeah, I've got like some facial blindness stuff.
Okay.
But actually, we were just with Thomason for dinner last night, and the whole time I kept being like, "Oh wait, she's EILEEN,"
Yeah.
because she doesn't seem like she's
No, she's so
in
sweet.
it.
Yeah,
She's so in character.
yeah.
That she doesn't seem like Thomason.
No, I didn't
So
get.
I don't think it's your fault.
Yeah, but I got to see her and congratulate her on the movie, so I didn't see it. So I
Cool.
feel better.
She's great, isn't she?
So great.
As a person too.
Yeah, she's delightful. She's really sweet.
Hmm.
So, if we start at the beginning, you said you wanted to make a mainstream book for normal people to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But this it's so funny because this book and movie are so dark.
I mean, this is as normal as I can get.
Yeah,
you
right.
failed.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is just, I mean, I've tried, since EILEEN, almost every book, there at the beginning of any project, you say, okay, I have agency. Like, I can choose what I'm going to do. And at the beginning, I always say, okay, I'm going to look for the story in the sunshine. And then it always ends up the shadow. And so I've just sort of given up at this point. This is just my imagination.
Yeah, no, what you're doing is winning. It's just funny. My friend who's been a struggling writer for many years has just said, fuck it, I'm going to try and write a bestseller. I'm through with my small press stuff. And he's just like devouring like John Grisham and Michael Crichton and Gone Girl and stuff like that just to try and turn himself into a mainstream kind of airport novel big hit. But I don't know. Similar to you, I don't think he's got it in him to be normal in the most respectful way. So how's it for you guys working together? You're both writers and collaborating because writing is such a quiet pastime. How is it working out to a collaborative process for both of you?
I mean, it's like we're both fiction writers to start off with. So, yeah, we're used to writing in a cave. And then, just made the cave bigger. So
Right.
Luke and I were just in
Actually, it turns out the cave
own.
actually was deeper than we had thought, and you could just have one person behind the other. We didn't have to expand the cave at all.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
One of us gets behind the other one No, I'm the sunshine and she's the rain.
That's beautiful. I like that.
I think we take turns.
Right. And how is the collaborative process? Or how is it you like maybe taking notes on your own work?
Mm-hmm.
Is that difficult?
It was, I mean, at the time I thought that what we were doing was difficult. Now I look back and I think that was the easiest thing I've ever done. And I think it's because I didn't know how hard it was. It was just, okay, this, you know, I wrote the book. I know the story. I know these characters. And that I remained sort of like innocent in that way as we went into the adaptation. And Luke and I co-wrote the script. The first draft took us like weeks. So we did it really, really quickly, kind of like pulling off a Band-Aid. Like, let's just get this on the paper. But the cool thing was that we were working with a director who totally understood everything that we were meaning to do. And we were all really on the same page about what we wanted the movie to be. And I felt really lucky to be working with people who were also really honoring the novel. So I didn't feel at any moment that I was somehow sacrificing anything for the adaptation, which I think is rare. I mean,
yeah. And how's it for you jumping in and adapting and making edits? And
I mean, we had come off of our first collaborative project with a script with this movie, Causeway.
That was great. Yeah.
Thank you. And that was difficult in that, you know, we had maybe 9 weeks to rewrite that script, and they were like ready to start shooting, and it was, you know, it wasn't our impetus. So as writers for hire and an all service kind of thing, it was very intense. And so coming into EILEEN, yeah, I mean, EILEEN was a miracle. Like, I mean, I guess it helps that you wrote a book that you wanted to do exactly what it does. It was cinematic by nature. You know, it was working with a form, playing with a genre, subverting it, but doing it. That was all really functional and like workable for a script, for a film. And it had like great themes, and, you know, it was just it was just dying to be a movie. So yeah, it wasn't the hardest movie that we've tried to write. There've been the two that we've been working on now, we're finding there's harder movies to write. EILEEN was like a thunderbolt from God.
And what's your process? Are you both at the laptop? Are you taking turns or sharing passes and things like that?
I mean, I think with EILEEN, we took turns. I mean, because one of us was always sort of looking at the book and one of us was looking at the script. And
we take turns, but we're both looking at it at the same time. So, you know, you share on the final draft, whatever. We're both seeing the same, but one person is a little bit more in the lead, maybe. Like, I'll be generating, saying a lot of things, and she'll be writing it down, or she'll be talking and I'll be writing it down. I'll work on a scene while she works on another scene. Or now we're at a place where we'll do passes, where I'll do a whole pass and then she'll do a whole pass. But that wasn't the case with EILEEN. With EILEEN, it was word by word. Everything had to be decided together.
I mean, EILEEN,
and same with Causeway.
The screenplay had the kind of tight economical writing of a short story almost. So we knew we had limited pages to accomplish a great deal. And, you know, we had to make decisions about what we wanted to include and what we didn't. But I actually feel like it really was like writing a short story, in that you really had to pick and choose very carefully and then make it really count.
There's a lot of silence in EILEEN.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, writing a script is different to writing a novel as to what's on the page and what is
Yes.
coming out. How is that changing your brain from
fiction to a shooting script?
Well, in the case of EILEEN, it's so much first person. EILEEN is talking the entire book.
Yeah.
Whereas with the script, it's, third, if anything, and there's not that much said. So it's a lot of the action and the silence and the expressions and right. So, I mean, those are very different.
I mean, I think we wanted EILEEN to feel like a really whole, 3D character in the screenplay, and what she chooses to say sort of tells whoever she's talking to the things she wants them to know, but then she's also talking to the viewer and sort of speaking in a code, because we know that what on the outside looks like sort of everyday girl is somebody who's like vibrating and brimming with desire and confusion and rage and all these other feelings, and we know about it, but she's trying to keep it a secret. So there's a balance to what she said and what she didn't say.
I mean, books are about distraction in a lot of ways. There's a lot of discursive territory, There's like the story and the character, but then there's all this stuff, looking at things and thinking about things and pondering things and exploring concepts and notions that just isn't, unless you're doing like Mike Lee or something, and they're doing it, verbally. There's just not a lot of room for that in a script. A script is, physical space, things happening, plot going, character, figuring out who the character is and then putting them in motion. And all the description is kind of superfluous. And there's not a lot of room for theorizing unless someone's speaking out loud manically. So they're just very different.
And how was it landing with your director? I was just thinking, I'm friends with Braxton Ellis, and he's always saying now with script writing, it'll just, if you take the check, the movie's going to happen, and it's going to be good or bad, but you've taken the check, so you've completely signed off. I was wondering, what's your approach? Are you guarded about your work? Do you want to vet the director, or you just gonna, the movie's the movie and my book's my book?
It surprises me that Brett would be so cavalier, because he's such a consummate artist and
cinephile.
But
well, he said he's had a lot of projects where he's done script writing projects, and he's like, the chances of this being made are like 1%, but he's
I see what
he's saying. He'll write the script and then
he'll
they'll find a director.
Even the adaptations he's got mixed feelings with, and
Yeah.
But yeah, are you protective over your work? Or, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to just hand it over to anyone.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, Will Oldroyd is a genius.
Agreed, yeah.
And I had seen Lady Macbeth and completely understood that he could and would honor the character and her story. And I mean, I think there's something about Will Oldroyd's brand of like tension that just was perfect for an adaptation of EILEEN, because it's so much a story of suspense and what is, in these contained spaces and what feels like it needs to break out. So yeah, I mean, I'm protective of it, but I also totally trusted Will, and I totally trusted everyone that worked on the movie. So I didn't feel nervous about it.
Okay, you guys had great experiences.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
That's
we
really
never
lucky.
we never gave any of it away. There was never anyone pushing this movie in any direction that we three didn't want it to go. So that was
also
remarkable.
lucky.
That's like rare, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Mubi. Mubi is a great streaming service dedicating to elevating great cinema. I've been a Mubi subscriber for years, and I'm going to give you 3 of my favorites from the Mubi UK platform. Okay, let me have a look. Number 1, Gone Girl by David Fincher. Okay, this is weird, but I am obsessed with the first 90 minutes of this movie until it gets crazy. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. I don't know what it is. There's something about the vibe and the kind of cold, eerie atmosphere of this movie. I put it on all the time when I'm working. So do that. Hopefully you'll fall in love with it and that weird glacial vibe that it's got as well. Okay, this is amazing. Mubi has bought a lot of the Shaw Brothers catalog. Shaw Brothers started in the 60s. 4 brothers who started making martial arts movies across Southeast Asia. Okay, so Kung Fu... when I was a teenager, 18, 19, I discovered Wu-Tang Clan. I was obsessed with Kung Fu movies, and Wu-Tang always used Kung Fu movie samples, and I'd always try and find the movies that the samples were from because I'm a geek. So 36 Chambers of Shaolin, that's a classic. I love that movie where he's learning to be a Kung Fu master, and he has to go through all 36 chambers of the academy to become a master. That's a great one. So start there and dig in. Holy crap, there's loads. 5 Deadly Venoms. I know that one is referenced by Tarantino. That's all I've seen. Okay, there's like 1, 3, 6, 9. There's over 12 movies. So dig into those over the festive period. Okay, and my final one, I want to pick Blue Steel by Catherine Bigelow, starring Jamie Lee Curtis as a rookie cop who gets suspended from duty after a first day, and she finds herself the object of desire for a serial killer played by the absolutely creepy Ron Silver. This is great erotic thriller, 90s crime drama. They just don't make them like this anymore. So Blue Steel, not to be confused with the Zoolander fashion face, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's it from me. And the good news is you can watch all these movies and more for 30 days for free. Just go to mubi.com/deeper into movies. Watch my recommendations and watch a ton more. There's always loads of great stuff to watch on the Mubi platform.
And what were you guys watching for inspiration? Were there any films you were passing back and forth for the...
That's interesting.
Feel of
Were there any
movie?
comps?
I don't think so. We didn't really approach it that way. Where I think usually when you go to like pitch a movie or sell a movie, you kind of need to think in these industry terms, like this is kind of like this,
Yeah, it's
this
this and
other
this meets
movie.
this. Or
But
kind of,
we didn't do that. I mean, we had our big cinematic reference was Hitchcock, for obvious reasons, in that it's, you know, a noir-esque, thriller-esque, suspense-esque film. And the novel itself was inspired a lot by Hitchcock's adaptation of the Daphne du Maurier novel Rebecca, which is why I named Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there were certain, like, period things, because it is a movie that takes place in the 60s, but I think we were really focused on telling the story rather than nodding
this
toward
pure.
anything else.
We kept it pretty, we kept it pure, that we weren't really, And it's not just when you're going to sell it. I mean, even when you're developing things with directors, like we're got another film with Will that we're in process with. And I mean, we had comps on that. We had films that we were looking at. Yeah, we had Vera Wang. We had, I mean, not Vera Wang. We had Vera, help me.
I don't
Vera,
remember.
the Mike Lee film.
Vera Drake.
Yeah, Vera Drake. Thank you. And we had Phantom Thread, and there were other films that we had as comps. But with EILEEN, we didn't. We just.
I mean, I don't know if you really need a film comparison when you're working from like a novel. I mean, the novel is
The movie.
the thing,
Right.
or a version of it anyway.
What do you guys watch at home? What do you have favorite movies?
I think we don't really watch as many movies together at home as we do in the theater. I think at home we tend to watch series together, but I mean I don't know. We try to go see everything that comes out, pretty much.
I'll go on like a run, like trying to watch of someone like Mike Lee right now, Ramin Barani before that. Like I'll just kind of start taking on a director and watching as many of their films as I can. But we don't really watch a lot of films at home. We go to the movies.
That's what I said.
Where we can eat popcorn and drink Diet Coke.
I mean, there's something. I mean, especially since COVID, I think going to the movies feels more important because you have the option now. And certain films that just came out, like the new Scorsese, I think, I really wanted to see that on the big screen. Even the Barbie movie, I wanted to see on the big screen.
What were your thoughts on the Barbie movie?
I was like, I totally don't relate to the cultural impact of Barbie as a American woman. I feel nothing for the Mattel, but I thought as for a film that was trying to reach such a broad audience with what I think is kind of a progressive message, I was grateful for it. And I thought that some of the decisions that Gerwig made, like, for example, using a montage of like real footage of real people toward the end of the movie was really moving. I thought the performances were great. I mean, it was fun. And it kept my attention the whole time. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I felt similarly.
Yeah.
For what it was good.
Yeah.
And for something still that kind of subversive to come through on a mainstream movie is pretty...
Yeah, that was impressive. I mean...
Like, even like the pavement references and things like that were... I was like, this is smart. I'm kind of dreading the new universe of toy movies, but there's always a bunch of bullshit after something kind of... big and unique happens that to like, all right, now it's the toy era and stuff, which is...
What do we got? Trolls? Paw Patrol? Were they toys?
Polly Pocket is... Lena Dunham's doing Polly Pocket.
Wow.
I'll say, I bet that'll be good too. I mean, Lena is so good.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lives in London now.
Oh, that's
Is that right?
Yeah. I met her for the first time at Cat Person screening.
Oh. How was that?
How was
I haven't
Cat
seen
Person?
that.
Really fucking good. I had no idea how they could take such a minimal short story and expand it, but it was really good. It kind of had a kind of more mainstream elements to it, but on a whole, the whole kind of debate surrounding the movie and the ambiguity was still retained, and it was good.
That was at Sundance when we were there, but we just didn't get a chance. I think it was sold out, or we didn't get a chance to see it. It's something I need to see. Yeah.
I actually haven't ever read this story. Because when people were talking about the story, I was like, isn't that every story? Like, isn't it? It's like about a woman who. What is the plot?
A woman meets a guy at a movie theater, goes on a date, and just kind of gets the ick, as they say. She's just kind of falls out of whatever connection they thought they had, just suddenly goes. She can't explain it, it's gone. Messages him to say, look, it's just not working out. And then I think he just messaged back like, "You're a fucking bitch,"
Mhm.
or something like that. And it's just that, and so that sparked the whole debate. Like guys are saying like she's a bitch, she's mean, and girls are just saying this is just a classic bro response to being
Rejected.
and stuff. But it kind of, yeah, for the most part, it kept that kind of interesting, nuanced kind of
Interesting.
discussion.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see like what makes it through to the mainstream. It's like that story, and I mean, I think like comparing that story and the complexity of that situation to a movie like EILEEN, and then I'm like, this will be interesting to see what people think, because it's a different kind of complexity, but one that I think is just as common. The complexity both of being in a infatuation with someone of the same sex,
Yeah.
where you're willingly seduced by them, even though you probably aren't actually gay.
Yeah.
And then the scenario of just like the cyclical abuse in families. I guess it's just not as sexy as dating and texting,
Yeah.
but happens all the time.
Let's talk about Anne Hathaway.
Yeah,
I think maybe her best performance I've seen.
she's incredible.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
She does feel, it sounds so cliche, but she really does look and feel like an old school Hollywood star in this movie.
Yes.
I don't know what, yeah.
Yeah.
She's always had a kind of classic, but this just felt like she's just like AI'd 1950s Hitchcock noir onto a contemporary movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just totally channeled it.
She's just stunningly charismatic.
Yeah.
And it's like everything just holds still. It's like hummingbird effect. You just look at her face and it's just moving at perfect stillness.
What I think is incredible about that performance is like she's playing a character who's a real woman, and that real woman is playing a character who's a movie star. And just the levels of the subtlety of pretension and sincerity. I mean, it's really complex what she's doing. And the ways in which she manipulates Thomasin McKenzie's character and inspires her by saying things like, well, you know, you're just like me, which is so complicated when if you're going to be like Anne Hathaway's character, you have to be all of these things, which EILEEN is not.
Right.
I mean, it's just fascinating.
You're just like me, which you're not at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, what you just said, like the way she walks down the hall with the kitten heels or the way she smokes, like it is like perfectly glamorous classic cinema, and yet it's just like one off. It's like someone doing the impersonation of it almost perfectly. Like
Right.
that's not easy, right? It's like to just do it. Okay, she's got glamour, she's got charisma, but to do it just short of perfect, so that it's like it has all of it, but it's also someone impersonating it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's weaving a web. It's just amazing.
Did you guys get to go on set? We
were there. Well, the shoot happened, you know, this was the whole movie from start to finish was during COVID. And the shoot was during the Omicron breakout. So we were on set the day before the shoot, and we got to walk around EILEEN's house and look at where
And we were there for
gonna get
camera
filmed.
tests.
Yeah, so we were
The day
around, but
before
not
that.
for the actual shooting of the movie.
Yeah, in fact, the first time I met Annie was Will was like, she was like was dropping things, I think, like getting in character or something, and she's like, I'm nervous, someone come talk to me. And Will goes, Luke, go talk to her. And I was like, okay. I just like walked out into the shot and like started up a conversation.
And was she in character?
Yeah, and she was
Wow.
like standing there for camera test, and I'm just like struck up a conversation. It's kind of a little bit intimidating.
Talking to Rebecca.
A bit intimidating, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Do you guys want to go the next step and direct your own works, or are you happy in your screenwriting roles?
I mean, to say that I don't want to direct would be a lie, but to say that I want to direct now
Right.
would be premature. I want to direct something that I write for myself to direct.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, exact same answer.
Would it be a duo directing team, do you think? Or do you think you want to...
There had been talk about that at one point on something no longer in play. And that could have its strengths and its challenges. But I mean, I'd be open to anything. I'm just not there.
And what was your most difficult scene to adapt? What was the hardest part of a book to work through or translate to the screen?
I mean, in some ways, it's the scenes you take for granted, like, you know, walking down the hallway or just going to the liquor store. That just these everyday things that I know how to picture, but are hard to translate in a way that doesn't make them stand out. And then there are moments like Mrs. Polk's monologue in the basement, which had to be delivered and written in a way that would gradually reveal the truth and horrify the viewer in a very specific order with a specific velocity. That was hard to write. That it was, well, I shouldn't say it was hard to write. I just think that was a very careful adaptation. The scene needed a lot of you're asking these three actors to go into a scenario that needs to be so clear to them, because what EILEEN does is so sudden and what Mrs. Polk says is so unexpected. So there was a very precisely choreographed scene to write.
Yeah, that was the hardest in terms of pacing, in terms of the audience being able to track what's happening and who needs what to happen in order for things to work out well, which of course they end up not working out so well. But it's, you know, things on the fly. They're all having to adjust in real time, and just the pacing of it, the dialogue, what needed to be accomplished in that whole section from arriving at Mrs. Polk's house to basically the end. Yeah, was the most difficult.
You'll probably be sick of being asked this, but is there any word on Rest and Relaxation, the movie?
I don't have like anything new to say other than it's still in process.
Okay.
Yeah.
My pitch is Dasha Nekrasova as the lead
I don't know who that is.
from Red Scare. Do you know the Red Scare podcast?
Oh, wait, is that the blonde?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Does she act?
Yeah.
She was in the
Succession.
Succession. She was the girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Cousin Greg.
Was it
Really?
Greg's girlfriend or?
Yeah, she was doing the PR handling for...
Oh, that
On
was
the
her.
boat?
No, this is when why am I blanking on his name? Strong.
Jeremy
Strong goes rogue, and then she's doing PR damage control.
Oh.
And she made a movie. She made a really cool kind of... I picture it as John Waters making Possession. Called Scary 61st. It's a really fun, crazy movie.
Interesting.
But that's my showbiz pitch for what it's worth.
Boom. That was me, Ottessa Moshfegh, and Luke Goebel. I had a great time talking to them. And I want to give a shout out. Obviously, Ottessa is incredible. And I really love Luke's collection of short stories, 14 stories, None of them are yours. I recommend buying that book also. Okay, that's it from me. Before I go, I got to keep drilling this home. If you enjoy the pod, please like and subscribe. It really helps my pod get into the charts. And the more people listen, the bigger the pod gets, the bigger the guests get. And I've been saying this, and it's already working. We're climbing up in the podcast charts. So that's awesome. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Joshua Eustace, aka Telephone Tel Aviv, for my beautiful music. And we will speak soon.